Hello, my friends. Today, there's yet another scandal, mineral water. I couldn't find a better setting to talk to you about this. I assure you, this is a real setting. This isn't a postcard, this isn't a backdrop, it's real. We are in Norway. So what happened is that there are water brands owned by Nestle, but I'm sure there are other brands involved as well. We're talking about Fecal, we're talking about Contrex de Ville. And actually, this water is treated. They're treated? Yes, that's right. You heard correctly, just like tap water actually. They go through charcoal filters, they go through UV treatment, all that. That's not the definition of mineral water. So we understand the intention behind treating them, but it's not mineral water because mineral water is supposed to be pure directly from the source. Here behind me, there are a lot of glaciers, there's a lot of water flowing down from the mountain, and it's naturally clean, it's naturally drinkable. But today, what's happening is that many springs in France, well, we've discovered, and this isn't recent, it goes back at least 15 or 20 years, we've discovered that they're contaminated. There are pesticides in them, there are fecal bacteria, which means that there's infiltration of wastewater, sewage that has reached the groundwater. So obviously we can't drink them directly, so what do? So if we really have to follow the rule or the rules that govern mineral water, well, they should just close shop simply because it's water that's no longer drinkable. So what do? We're still going to extract it and then treat it just like we would with tap water, right? And then we're going to bottle it and sell it as mineral water. So that's clearly consumer fraud. The Elysee knew and ignored it because not everyone is treated equally when it comes to fraud. You and I, we're not all equal in this regard. There are companies where some people are more equal than others in the sense that they were allowed to cheat, quite simply because there are big economic interests at stake. There are a lot of jobs, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of tax revenue. So what do? They're too big to fail. It reminds us of that story a few years ago. For those who remember, it was about 10 years ago when we ended up with donkey meat, horse meat being sold in frozen meals all across Europe, labeled as beef. So actually, what happened was there were countries, especially in the East, that had banned the use of donkeys for work, for pulling carts and all that. And so we ended up with a huge number of equines and we didn't really know what to do with them. So they were sold to the grey market for human food. So they entered the food chain and were sold as beef. That's it. So we're going from one scandal to another. Personally, I lost trust in mineral water a long time ago. And one of the reasons I lost trust in it is the plastic. That is to say, there are microplastics. The problem with this plastic is that it ends up in the water we drink. So we're talking about bottles. These are bottles made of PET. So these are molecules that actually form polymers. So they are polymerized in factories and then afterwards they're filled with water. Now, once you go through the chemical process, you have leftover non-polymerized molecules in other ways. You can never have, it doesn't exist, a perfect polymerization. So, no matter how much you polymerize, there will always be molecules that haven't polymerized. There will always be molecules that have floated, and in the water there will always be particles, so some of these molecules will end up in the glass of water that we end up drinking. So personally, I lost faith in bottled mineral water a long time ago. And today, when we look at analyses, peer-reviewed medical research and all that, what I'm telling you is very scientific. Well, we see that there are humans with plastic in their organs, in their brains, all that. I saw a study the other day that said there is the equivalent of a spoonful of plastic in the human body today. And that, of course, comes, among other things, from exposure to plastic water bottles. It can also come from other things, even a plastic bag of candy or something else, but the problem is that there are really a lot of mineral water bottles. That means people consume a lot of it. There are people who say, I only drink mineral water from bottles. Well, if you analyze it, let's say, I don't know, 1 or 2 liters a day, you see where this is going. These are people who can easily drink hundreds of liters of water from those bottles in a year. So inevitably, if not in all, particles are floating around. There you go. So, my friends, yet another scandal. I'm not at all personally surprised. I've lost trust in what they call the big food industry. We have big bank. Big bank, of course, means the banks. They can get away with anything. We're literally on our knees before them today, aren't we? Even when they make bad deals or get caught in their own corruption, it's our taxes that bail them out. We come and hand them money. Here you go. And they lend the state its own money. You know that. We've chained ourselves to the banks since the early 1970s so that the state produces money. And actually it gives it to the banks and then it immediately borrows it from the banks. It's a very well-known mechanism. We have big tech today, which controls every aspect of our lives, knows everything about us, and increasingly has a say and control over our lives. We have big pharma, right? We've seen the power it has been able to wield in recent years. And today we also have big food, which has just made headlines with this scandal, and we have big military as well. We have the military-industrial complex that constantly pushes for wars, that pushes for the sacrifice of more and more young people, more and more billions and everything. It wants wars, it regularly wants wars, it's obsessed with that. So what was I trying to tell you? We're in a system where we have conglomerates that have become too powerful, and today they're becoming as powerful or even more powerful than states. From there, they become uncontrollable. So, in my opinion, it's high time to crack down. And I think that if we want to find a solution, but when I say we need to find a solution, it's not that we're actually looking for one anyway. It's a done deal. What we're experiencing, what we're seeing, is something that's completely done. And besides, you can have people who work for the government and then right after go work for these big companies. So there are revolving doors between the ministries, the administrations, and these companies. So honestly, don't expect that tomorrow we'll find a solution to this problem. So we're not actually looking for a solution. But if we were looking for one, I think we need to break them up. I think we need to pass a law that kicks in at, I don't know, a certain number of employees. Well, that's it. The company stops there. You have to create another one. We need to avoid seeing giant conglomerates that after a while become more powerful than states. Maybe we need to crack down in this way. In any case, yet another scandal. Absolutely no surprise. There are probably others. And then we'll see them when they come out. But really no surprise. One last thing before leaving. My book, The Great Pardons and Betrayals, it's a rather brutal book that talks a bit about these things. But if you also want to learn more about junk food, I recommend reading Astrology, where you'll see how ecology, which was supposed to bring us political ecology, which was supposed to bring us clean food, pure food, food close to nature, well, it's this kind of ecology, which I call astrology in the title of the book, that actually brought us artificial steak, brought us genetically modified foods, brought us chemicals in our food. That's it, my friends. Thanks for watching this video so far, and I'll see you in the next one.